Hello malt mates, hello Whisky Inquisitive, I'm Ralphie, welcome to the Bothy, welcome to my little corner. It's quite a small corner, but it tends to be fairly resilient, and I review whisky, and this is review number 1133 extras, in which, having reviewed this Benrinnes independent single cask bottling from Signatory Cask Strength, I go a little bit further and give you additional information which hopefully you will find to be useful, helpful, and increase the odds of you buying a good bottle of whisky and not being lumbered with the incredible disappointment of having paid good money and then had your expectations quite high, and then you discover that you don't like the whisky, and it's probably because the whisky's not very good. And one reason for that is your palate's developing. You're no longer a passive consumer, you're a proactive customer, and I'm going to show you now what proactive customers do to get better value when buying the bottles. And this is a very good illustrative whisky to present that. So, point number one. Could you excuse me a minute? Listen, you. I know, yes. Yeah. Thank you. Later. I'll give you a cuddle. Give you a wee tickle, we're fine. No. You want no? Could you excuse me a minute? I know this is obviously quite contrary to be rewarding them for being mischievous cats, but it is, of course, it's deliberate. Because I think the intrusiveness of the cats and their curiosity is a very useful addition to the authenticity of my channel, because my channel is not AI driven, and if it was AI driven you would not have a moggy jumping up in the barrel and then turning around without knocking the bottle over, waiting for treats. AI doesn't do that. More and more content of the internet is allegedly AI driven. I can see AI being competent in one search and also bluffing, right? I can see that happening. It's telling people what it wants them to hear. Now, I don't have a problem with that, because AI is doing what humans do all the time, and AI is learning from humans, so why wouldn't it? Just so long as you understand that. So let's get on with this. This is a bottle of 23-year-old Benrinnes that's out of my stash for review. And before I bought it, I would do research, background research. And point number one is go onto Google Maps and look at the location of the distillery. Now, this may seem a kind of odd thing to do, because what's the location of a distillery going to tell you about the flavour? Well, it's going to tell you a reasonable amount, particularly if the whisky's not been special cask finished. Now, Benrinnes Distillery is a small to medium distillery, not particularly big. It stands out a mile within the neighbourhood of underneath Benrinnes, the mountain, which dominates Speyside. And it has a very tall red brick chimney, which I don't believe they use anymore, but it certainly looks very handsome. So when we go and we look at the distillery, we follow on at the geographical location, say, right, which other distilleries are next to it? Oh, here we go, Aberlour, Glenfarclas, and over the other direction you've got various distilleries. This gives you a regional approximation. Secondly, you've got to decide, are you going to go for an official bottling or an independent bottling? Because with official bottlings, my experience tells me, and I'm not stating this as ritualistic fact here, I'm very aware that I am giving an opinion on this channel. But even when big bottlers say that they don't chill filter, they're still putting the whisky through a massive chill filtration machine that's just a little bit warmer. That's what's happening. And yet, because it's not been chilled, they take advantage of what we don't know. And by the way, this is a commonality in the Scotch whisky industry. And it's rather patronising, and they better get mindful of it. It's pissing people off. It's perfect conversation for online forums and Reddit and Discord and Facebook, etc. So the second thing you're going to do is have a look at the distillery itself. How many stills do they have now with Benrinnes? They have 6 stills. But importantly, when you're looking at the wash still, look how fat it is. What is a fat still? A fat still has a big wide belly pan. It has big wide funnel. It doesn't go up too high and then it turns over and descends. It goes either horizontally or descends. And in Benrinnes' circumstance, the line arms descend into worm tub cooling systems, which, being under a mountain, one of the highest mountains in Scotland, in Speyside of Scotland, actually gives you some higher than average colder water for the location. See, it's all forensics, it's all Sherlock Holmes stuff. And the third point is that now we know that it's worm tub cooled. All of the stills are worm tub cooled. Why are they doing this? And it's because of the blender's demand for Benrinnes to beef up any of their blends which are a little bit thin from the cask. It's a very enriching single malt. So when you buy a bottle and you taste it, and be careful what you buy, I'll come to that shortly, you're going to get a real rich, textured and layered butterscotch, completely unpeated whisky, which for people whose palates have become fatigued from the standard generic corporate bottlings, now they're able to get something different and take their interest in whisky on to a higher level. Point number 3, or is it? I've forgotten. Anyway, next point. There we go. I'm a bit under the weather at the moment. I've had a virus and it's knocked the stuffing out of me. So we'll call this 3/4. This is an independent bottling. When you buy official bottlings of Benrinnes, and it's the 15-year-old Flora and Fauna, that's basically it, in all seriousness. You're getting something chill filtered. At our stage, when you're watching 20-minute reviews on YouTube, you really got to acknowledge to yourself that you're past chill filtered whisky. And this is the thing that independent bottlers do well. Not only do they give you properly unchill filtered, especially when they're bottling on their own premises, which, a word of advice to independent bottlers, is increasingly very important. And if you can't do it yourself, tanker your stock to a warehouse where they can do it for you. Because warehouses frequently have bottling plants. Good example, North Star. This is a big slip up, a big mistake for independent bottlers kicking off in the scene with absolutely no knowledge or experience, but with a lifelong, super passionate, it's always what I wanted to do, blah de blah de blah. We've heard all that, we're over it, we moved on. Whisky businesses need to move on too. So with Benrinnes, you're looking at mainly independent bottlings. You will at this stage, if you're doing your homework, know the better independent bottlers from the worst independent bottlers. The worst ones just bottle anything to make up their quota that they need to release, and the more professional independent bottlers hold on to stock till it's ready to bottle. This, I can't stress this enough, is so important. We need to know who they are. But it can be a challenge to find out, because the independent bottlers do something very important that we don't get from official bottlings. It's hugely important. They don't try and steer us with marketing flannel and brand ambassadors. And I've seen independent bottlers migrate into producing their own whisky, and they fall right into that trap. And recently one was heard to say, we bottle at 43% because it just makes the whole thing smoother. If that's the customer, good luck to them. We're not their customers. We're really not. Because smooth frequently means bland, or optionally it means they've had a horrible time with casks and they've had to re-rack all their batches into fresh casks to mask and tart over the sourness and stagnation and stalenesses of the casks that they used first time round. Why did they do it? Because they didn't check the casks. It's as simple as that. Why didn't they spot it earlier? Because they weren't checking the casks. Because they're busy. And there's more and more distilleries operating and fewer staff, but you generally find that the managers don't ever roll up their sleeve and muck in. When you get distilleries like that, you know for sure you've got a negative culture of connectivity, and you've got to treat that with the utmost suspicion, because they'll just stand there, the managers smile and nod and nog the day, oh yeah, it's wonderful, everything's wonderful, and then they'll come out with absolute time-worn classic of, we have been generations and it's a family business and we never let everything out without management approval. And I would seriously question if that is a load of bullshit. From where I'm sitting these days, there comes a point, malt mates, I'm just going to say it, there comes a point that your cynicism starts to mount and you can end up a little bit too cynical. And the best cure for that, every time without exception, is actually getting respectful, honest, decent whisky bottled for you. Knowing where it is, knowing how to find it, and knowing what to pay for it. It happens quite a lot, by the way, but it's so under the radar because people are still bedazzled by official bottlings, and that must be the more investment grade. Yeah, if you want to invest in disappointment. I know I'm generalising, but you see where I'm coming from here. I don't want to get too cynical, but we need to be cynical and then find a remedy for that cynicism. So the next stage 5 or 6, whatever, is that you go on to Whiskybase and you just put in a general search for Benrinnes. And then you look at these thousands of bottlings over the years and you narrow it down by going to the little drop box on the right hand side that says bottler. And then you see all these independent bottlers who have bottled it. And what you do is you click through them one by one to see who's had the best reviews. Now, something you need to know about Whiskybase. It's a very, very good resource. However, I have noticed on quite a number of occasions that certain bling brands get upmarked and not so blingy brands tend to be marked down despite the fact that they're really not such a bad whisky. And this is the inherent prejudice that you get in the whisky scene. Particularly when men, usually men, but not always, but generally men, are conversing amongst each other and deciding where the pecking order lies. And if you've got the top of that pecking order with Macallan, I wish you all the best when you finally sober up from that particular intoxication. There's there's very few other channels you're going to, in fact I can't think of any, that you'll get this sort of confrontational deep dive. But I just want to say in my defence, this is actually, content like this delivers integrity, transparency and honesty, an honest opinion into the whisky scene. And over the next few years, things, malt mates, are going to get very rough indeed, globally. So I hope you found this useful. You start with your bottle of whisky you're looking at, and then you go on a little forensics chase. You get out your magnifying glass, or a steampunker if you can't find a magnifying glass, and you start to do your sleuthing online, because that's the only place you will find the most honest opinion. Writers who write books have to draw the line somewhere. They are not going to bite the hand that feeds them, because if they do, they lose contracts, they don't get invitations. And this is one reason, I'm going to conclude with this, this is one reason why the big brands, they have these launch events. You've probably heard of them, but I doubt you've been invited to them. They're only really for influencers of a certain type who are prepared to accept the invite. And they'll go along and there'll be lots of applause and a very nice buffet and some old whisky, and they'll be given a free goodie bag containing a bottle of whisky, notes from the distillery on what to say online, and then they head off, and then the brand ambassador will then follow up from the invite list and see what they've made of it and see what they have done with the freebies and whether it's been worth the while inviting them. Because for some bizarre, and it's quite a complex reason, the Scotch whisky industries really frequently just can't seem to get much traction with content of their own. And I think there's a specific reason for that, and I'll cover it in another review. But in the meantime, it's lovely to see you. I hope you found this useful. And if you pop back again in about a week's time, I will be here with another review, number 1134. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have got another video to record, and it's exclusively for my Patreon subscribers, in which I'm going to have an unboxing, or actually this is an unbucketing of 5 whiskies, 5 whiskies that I've bought recently that I plan to review later in the year. And there you have it. Hope you've enjoyed this.